Welcome, everybody. So here's the big question for the next 45 minutes or so that we're going to try to answer. How would you like to get 2 hours extra from your week back, every week? I'm not going to try to read off the slides because that's way too hard. The point is, investing in really good tooling can help you get a lot of time back. It seems a little crazy that I'm going to throw out a number like 2 hours every week, but I don't think that any of us would turn that time down. So let's take a look at some tools that can help you get that time back. So my name is Andrea Falcone, and I'm going to talk to hopefully everyone in this room. Are you iOS, Android developers? Maybe some of both, a little of each? Both hands, two hands, no hands? Okay, cool. I'm going to talk about supercharging your mobile app release and some tools that you can use to do that. The primary tool is called Fastlane. So a little bit about me. Like I said, my name is Andrea Falcone. I'm a software engineer. I work at Twitter, and I work on a tool called Fastlane. I've been at Twitter for just over 3 years, and I came to Twitter via the acquisition of Crashlytics. Is anybody familiar with Crashlytics or Fabric? So those are some other developer tools that I have spent some time working on as well. I'm not really an Android developer. I work on Android tools. And since I've started working on Fastlane, which is an acquisition that Twitter made about 6 months ago, I've also started to get into some iOS stuff and really understand the terrible, horrible headache pains that iOS developers have to go through. So I empathize with you folks. So when's the last time that you heard some of these phrases? Oh, Andrea's on vacation. Nobody else knows how to do the release. Or, what do you mean those provisioning profiles didn't contain the devices? Can't update the build. Can't update our release. We can't send it out because the friggin' build is broken. We need screenshots for the website. We added a new feature. Who can generate all those screenshots? Do you know if you hold this button and this button at the same time, you can get a screenshot? No. And just the fact that some people might not even want to do a release to fix a small bug just because the overhead of actually doing a release for some folks is way too hard. So here's a bunch of problems that you face as iOS and Android developers, or not even just problems you face. This is your workflow. These are the things that you do every day. And we run into them ourselves, as developers at Twitter, working on Fabric. These steps can be really problematic, and they can stop you from building the features that you want to get out to your customers. Your time is spent somewhere else, fixing the build, managing different groups, trying to do all these things. And we wanted to fix these problems for you. And so we came up with a series of tools that you can chain together to fix these issues so that everyone on your team can be responsible for shipping builds. So introducing Fastlane. Has anybody actually heard of Fastlane before? Awesome. A couple of folks. Fantastic. So for those of you that don't know, Fastlane is a set of open source command line tools that automate all of the aspects of building, testing, and deploying Android and iOS apps. It's the easiest way to save time building apps and to democratize the building. So making sure that everyone on the team can play the same roles while building and releasing apps. You store the knowledge of how to do these releases in configuration files or in source control. That way they're not stored in human brains, which are definitely fallible. And it's open source, making it extensible for you to add in the custom crazy things that everyone's build does a little differently. And you can wrap it around existing scripts that you already have, something custom that you've got set up that you really like. You can build a shell of Fastlane around that and still continue to use the tools that you like. So Fastlane is really powerful, and it prevents human error. Like I said, it takes the human knowledge factor out of building. You string together these different tools that have deterministic output. Basically, just a series of steps. And if each step does its job, the final output is going to be a release in iTunesConnect or in Google Play. And it's reusable. Like I said, check it into source control, hang on to it, use it next time. Anybody can use it. So we don't have time to cover all the tools today. For those of you that are familiar with Fastlane, there's a lot of tools. We've got something like 11 tools. But I'm going to show you how a bunch of them can work together to go through a couple different use cases. So the first use case that we're going to cover will be a beta deployment. and then an App Store and a Google Play deployment as well. So beta. Let's talk about this following use case here. So CEO of the company walks up to you and says, hey, can I get the latest beta version of this thing you're working on my phone? I want to show it to clients. You're like, let me find a USB cable, right? You're scrambling around. If you don't have something already set up like Beta by Crashlytics, Hockey, TestFlight, if you're not using those, you've got to generate something from your machine that you know will work on his device and hand it to him. Could someone whose first day at the company, whose first day of the company was today, could they fulfill that task at your company? Possibly not. If you don't have an automated way to do this, there's a lot of knowledge that they don't have in order to fulfill that task. So here are the steps that we go through when we do this manually, right? When we are going to send out a beta build. You got to bump the version. You got to get that onto master. You might have to wait for CI in here potentially. Then you need to deal with a provisioning profile. So this is some iOS pains. If you're an Android developer, you're really glad you don't have to deal with this. You got to make sure the device ID of that person is in your provisioning profile, or maybe you're using enterprise profile. That's a little easier. You actually have to build the thing. Then you've got to get the signed artifact. You got to upload it somewhere, possibly just connecting it, right onto their device. You got to figure out the release notes. What is in this beta version that people are going to get? I don't know. I've got to look back through the Git history or try to remember the features that we put in here. And then finally, distribute it. With Fastlane, you can do all of this with a single command. But before we get started, has anybody ever seen this in Xcode? This little dialogue here. This is, oh, your code signing identities don't match your provisioning profile. These are the kind of headaches that you run into on your way just to getting your code into someone's hands who's going to test or use your app. Yeah, this is the best. So how can we build and sign an app from the command line? So this is the right way, and it's reusable. So the steps that you have to go through to do this are deal with your code signing certificate, possibly generate a new one. Provisioning profile using the correct code signing certificate. Don't screw those up. Actually build it, sign it using that provisioning profile. And finally, get your signed IPA. So with Fastlane, there are tools for each one of these steps. It's a tool called cert. You type cert into the command line, it generates signing certificates for you. Sci creates provisioning profiles given signing certificates. Jim builds apps for you, and out comes your signed IPA. Fantastic. So what does this all look like when you're actually using Fastlane tools? You just enter those 3 commands that I said. That's it. Cert, sign, Jim. Type those off. Type those, and off you go. You've got your signed IPA. So it seems really basic or simple. Fastlane has a ton of configurations that are available to you, but our goal is to make the defaults as sensible and sane as possible so that you can start here, and if you want to do something crazy or different, you can build onto it. You can specify paths to certain files if it's not the one that's in this directory. You can use a variety of different options for every tool. But these 3 commands does a lot of work for you. But can we automate this? Can we automate these 3 lines? Because I said we could do this in 1 line, so we can. There's a tool. Fastlane has a file. Its configuration file is called a fast file, and it's basically a Ruby-based file that reads down like a script. So it has a series of steps, and they execute in an order. And if each step is successful, your output is going to be, in this case, hopefully a signed IPA. So you define the steps, the order that they run in, and make sure that Fastlane will execute them. It knows that all of these steps depend on one another, so the output of cert feeds into sci, and the output of sci feeds into gym. They each tie into each other, and they know where they're storing environment variables so that they can talk back and forth with each other. They know where they're storing things in the file system, so that they all interplay with each other. So how would the configuration for our beta example that I was talking about earlier, how would that look? Well, this is what we're going to do with our app. We're going to build it using Gym. We're going to use Beta by Crashlytics and upload our IPA there. And when we're all set, we're going to use a Slack action and post it in Slack so that the entire team knows that a beta has been sent out. Pretty easy, automated. All right, so going back to our initial goal, right? These are the steps that we said we had to do every time we want to make a new build, whether that's for beta or for a production release. And we can turn it into a Fastlane script that looks like this. So we'll increment the version number using, can you see this back there? I see some squinty eyes. Sorry. We increment the version number, then we'll commit it. These are all built-in Fastlane actions that come with Fastlane. And then we'll push it to Git. Then, like I said, we'll use Cert, Sci, and Jim to actually do the building, the heavy lifting. And we've got our signed IPA. So all we have to do is call Crashlytics and post it to Slack if that's how your team communicates. There's so many built-in integrations with Fastlane. So we saw integrations with Git here. We saw integrations with Slack. We also work with HipChat. Pretty much any tool that your team is using today for your development workflow can be integrated or is already integrated into Fastlane. So how does that Crashlytics action know where to find that file, that IPA file that was actually generated by Jim? You don't have to think about these things because they're passed through environment variables or through parameters between each of these actions. So once we've finished writing the Fastlane file, how do we use it? Really easy. Fastlane beta, that's it, type it out. Each of those steps is run one after the other, and your beta is gonna go out successfully. 2 words, super simple. So you can run this on your own machine, your coworkers can run it, or best case scenario, you're running this from CI, so that no one has to do the dirty work of sitting there and typing in commands. But however your team works, there's a way that you can use Fastlane. So let's say we want to release to the App Store. So we'll take the script that we started with here. All right. Oh, my slides are a little out of order. This is supposed to tell you where that word beta came from. Let's jump back a little bit. Somebody's copy and pasting their slides too fast. Beta is the name of the lane in your configuration file. So when you type Fastlane beta, there we go. Beta, where did that come from? It came from that word. Zoom, there we go. It came from there. You're just defining the names of these lanes. So beta is not anything predefined as part of Fastlane. It's your series of steps that are part of a beta. Do you want to see it in action really quick before we move on? So this movie is a little bit fast, but just to give you an idea of what's going to happen here. So each one of those steps is going to run. You're going to see the command line output. You're going to see exactly what Fastlane is running under the covers. So there's no real mystery about what it's doing. It shows you what it's running, the output of what has run. All right, let's give it a go. All right, here we go. Fastlane beta. All right, so right here we are dealing with provisioning profiles and signing certificates. Oh, we skipped on Jim really fast, so here we are building. Great, it's uploading to Crashlytics. It's done. That was it, it did the whole thing. And you can see the table down at the bottom. That's the time in seconds, not minutes, that this took to run. 12 seconds to sign, build, and upload your app for beta. I think that's a lot less time than most folks would spend doing that manually. Cool. All right, finally at release day. So it's really exciting, right? You're ready for the big launch. You want to get your hard work out into the hands of customers. But why do we have to spend so much time getting an app out there? Why is this such a struggle? We make this bespoke process that only one person on the team knows about, or we can only do from this one machine. So let's reduce the barrier to actually shipping out app updates and basically make everyone into a release engineer. It's really, really simple with Fastlane. So when you're about to put an app in the Play Store or in iTunesConnect, one thing that you need to do is generate screenshots. People need to know what your app looks like in order to use it. every time you change a feature in your app, you change the login screen, maybe you add a new language to your app, you add some new functionality, a new device is released, and you want to make sure that your you have screenshots that are appropriate for that device. This is pretty hard to do. So, I'll give you an example. If you have 10 languages that your app supports, that's not too many, and you have 5 device types and just 5 simple screens in your app, that's 250 screenshots that you would have to generate in order to have all of the data filled out for your app in the Play Store or in iTunesConnect. They're hard to create, like I mentioned before, holding down the buttons or going through the manual steps. But who has time for doing all of that? So good thing that there's Snapshot. This is a Fastlane tool, and it's basically one line of code to capture a screenshot. This is the iOS version here. We take advantage of UI test automation. So you can use Objective-C or Swift, drop in Snapshot, give the name of the file that you want this screenshot to be for, and that's it. You run it. It's really easy. I'm going to give you a quick demo here. So we're running Snapshot. And so there is some configuration here. You see that nice little table that's printed out showing you what things have been configured for this. Like I said, it's dead simple. You can start with just Snapshot and then expand on it from there. All right. And now what's going to happen is that it's going to run through all of your tests and take the screenshots where you had injected that line of code. All right. It's going to switch languages into every language that you said should be supported and generate all of those screenshots for you. And at the end, you will get a nice little HTML preview. These are all of the screenshots that were generated by that one command. And again, it's configurable, it's checked into source control. I can do it on my machine, you can do it on your machine. This is good for everybody on the team. For Android, we have a very similar tool called Screen Grab. In this case, we use some of the Espresso testing functionality, and we sort of plug in with that. So very minimal steps to get going here. You call screengrab.screenshot, give it the name of the file that you want to generate, and basically what you're doing with these tests is you're sort of interlacing the screenshotting with interacting with your app. So click on this button, take a screenshot. Type this in, take a screenshot. Navigate to that screen, take a screenshot in order to generate all of the different screenshots that your app might need. All right. Here's another quick demo. This is the Android version. This is going to go by pretty quickly, but I'll try to keep up and tell you what it's doing. So first it's going to install the app and the test app, because that's how you run tests on Android. This is going to go by way too fast. I'll have to play it for you again. It runs them on the connected emulator or device, and it's going to run all the tests that we told it to. You can configure whether it runs all your entire test suite, or maybe you have separate tests that are just for your screenshots. Totally up to you. All right, and then it switches the locale of the device and runs it again. So for every locale that you decide, for every screenshot, you're going to get the matrix of all of those screenshots. Then it pulls them off the device, stores them on your computer. All right, finally, after all of that, we've got our screenshots. We think we're ready for some App Store deployment. So we button up the release, but here's the hard part. iTunesConnect and the Google Play Developer Console are really powerful, but they can also be really tough to use. They have a steep learning curve. You couldn't just sit someone down in front of it and say, okay, go ahead and do this app release. They don't know which things they've got to fill out, which are required, which are optional, what I have to put here and where. And they're constantly changing. So, what do we do? Let's take a little closer look at iTunesConnect. All right. Where do you get started here? There's so many pieces of required information in order to get your app out. A lot of steps. And you've got to keep these in sync between app releases. So just because you get your app out that first time doesn't mean that you're going to be able to keep doing this continually because things have changed. Fastlane will bring organization to this process. Here's the Google Play Developer Console. Pretty much just as confounding, right? Android requires that you upload an APK before you get started with anything. You can't even say, this is my hello world. It's like, please give me your APK file and I will tell you what it is. So you drag and drop your APK file into Google Play, and that's where it derives the package name, the icon, does a little parsing of your APK package to sort out some of this information. All right, and now you can see just how much stuff you're going to have to fill out in order to publish this. The information that's required is spread across a lot of different screens, multiple tabs, different dialogues. This what's new section down here, that's a major way that you as developers interact with your consumers. That's what they see as the release notes. But it's hidden in this dialogue down here. And when you want to change the language, when you want to enter release notes for multiple languages, you've got to change that drop down and put them into this box every single time. All right? Super easy to miss, but really important. So much stuff is required. Okay, this is what when you upload your app and you go hit the publish button, it's like, why can't I publish? You need all of this stuff in order to publish an APK. It's a lot. So this can be really frustrating for developers. It's your first time. You just want to get something out there, but I've got to do all of this work. Or for seasoned developers, it's agonizing because you've got to do this every single time. And like I said before, you run the risk of not updating your screenshots, not updating your release notes, just because it's too hard. Can we make this part easier? I think we can. So how about just Fastlane release this time? That's all we're going to have to do in order to get an app up into the Play Store. All right. Here, we're going to do another quick demo. These go really fast. I can make the source GIFs available to everybody after the talk so that you can see them running through. So in this case, what it's doing, it's building and signing the app using Gym. You saw the summary table that gets printed out. Those are all the config options that every tool has that you can tweak if you need to. In this case, it took the screenshots, posted to Slack, and sent that update via email to everybody. So when this one is done building, what it did is use a tool called Pilot, which is how we talk to iTunesConnect. And the build is out there and ready for the world. So just a reminder, these are all the pain points that you as an app developer have to go through all the time. And we're trying to make each one of these things easier for you with Fastlane tools. So how do you get started with Fastlane? Very easy. It's just gem install Fastlane. So it is a Ruby gem. The configuration files are loosely based on Ruby, but they're not that hard. All right, and so how does this all work? Well, Fastlane is built on top of tools that we all know and love. Things like Xcode Build, Gradle, ADB, and we use APIs, both private and undocumented, as well as public and official, to talk to iTunesConnect, the developer portal, Google Play. Login credentials for Fastlane are stored either in your keychain or environment variables or in config files. However, you need to set this up for you as an individual or as your team. And like I said, the configurations are all portable. So deployment can happen from your machine, someone else's machine, best case scenario, CI. So instead of having to use all of these tools every time you want to do a deploy, Fastlane does all of that hard work for you. Okay, the scary part. Okay, we're going to go for a live demo. I am going to build and release to Google Play right here, right now. Are we ready for this? I'm not ready. All right, so quick swap here. Great, you can see everything. How about pump up the jam? There we go. Great. Oh, but you can't see anything in my terminal because it's too small. Can we type that? Okay. Very good. All right. So to set the ground here, I have an Android test app called Hello Word Test App. I had to mistype that, and that really screwed me up. No lie. So what this app has, it's got some UI tests here that I've set up to use screen grab, but it's a really basic UI test. All right, so I've got my instrumentation test runner set up for that. I've also got my dependencies on Espresso. This is all boilerplate for apps that have tests for Android. All right, in order to get set up with screen grab, I imported a dependency to call that from my UI tests here. All right. And I also added some permissions to the manifest in order to do some of the trickery around changing the locales on the device. This is all documented for screen grab on the README. All right. Cool. What else do I have for this app? I have over here on the left, I have strings files in English and in French. All right. So it's very basic, but has all the things that an app might need. I need to make this a little smaller so I can actually type in it. Great. All right. So I'm going to start out by, let's look in this directory. All right, this directory has all my basic Android stuff, nothing fancy. I'm going to type Fastlane in it. And what this is going to do is it's going to prompt me for a few things and get Fastlane set up. Of course, I have everything in version control. All right, package name of my app. All right there. Great. My path, my JSON secret file. So when you talk to Google Play, you're going to need some kind of API key or credentials. The easiest way to do this with Google Play is to download a .json file that contains that information. So I have that stored here on my computer. Great. All right, so what has this told me? It says that Fastlane has created a metadata directory, or it's asking me, should Fastlane create metadata directory? Well, yeah, I'm going to talk to Google Play, so let's get that set up. All right, cool. So it's downloading some things from Google Play. Let's bounce over to Google Play. Let me bounce. There we go. Bounce. Great. This is the app that I have in Google Play. All right, hello world. That's how it's supposed to be spelled. It's got a description. All right, let's get rid of this. It was not, well, that's all right. We'll change it. It's really basic. There's no screenshots, nothing else going on in here, and I've only got the one language, English. All right, so I have, as an app developer, I've got a basic app. I put it up on Google Play, but I haven't entered any other information. I literally dragged that signed APK over there. All right, so now what do we need to do next? So let's go take a look at the Fastlane directory that was generated. Can I pump up the jams on this guy? Ooh, that font is small. We'll go into the Fastlane directory and we'll look at it. All right, so what did I got? I got an app file. Let's look at that app file. All right, that app file has a link to, or a record of my JSON key file. It also has a package name I entered. That's no surprise. All right, and I also have, where's my cursor? I also have a fast file. Big template, lots of comments, but the important thing about this fast file is that there are some really basic things started out here for you. So let's take a look at this one here. All right, this is a lane, which is Fastlane's sort of concept of grouping all of these tasks together. All right, it's called deploy. It's going to build using Gradle, my app, and it's going to call supply. Supply is the tool that talks to the Google Play Store. So it's going to upload whatever I have created for this app to the Play Store. All right, we're going to do two things first. Let's go over here and verify. When was this app uploaded? All right, April 8th, Friday, not today. And the other thing I want to do, let's go into my metadata. So what is this? This is all the stuff that was downloaded from Google Play. And it's sorted by language. What else do we have? All right, let's open up the full description during my talk. All right, so this was updated during my talk. Ooh, save that. All right, let's get out of there. Switch back over here. So what was I gonna run? I'm gonna run fat. Let's go back up to my app directory. All right, I was going to run Fastlane deploy. Let's hope this works. All right, so you can see that it's showing you everything that it's doing. So it ran the command, assemble release. These are all the Gradle outputs that we're used to seeing as Android developers. Gradle takes a little while, which is great because it gives me an opportunity to talk to you. All right, it's moved on to supply. All right, and it's uploading all of my metadata, which is great. It did just download it, but I have changed some of it. Ooh, it's gonna put that in production. Ooh, and it was successful. Fantastic. So what did it upload? Well, it uploaded this release APK, which was the output of having assembled it in Gradle. All right, so let's refresh Google Play. Wait for it. There it is. All right, so that app is up there on Google Play. That was uploaded and created just now. And my metadata during my talk. All right, great. This is easy peasy stuff, though. Let's move on to something slightly more complicated. So I'm going to copy this in, and then I'll talk about it. So into my fast file, into that deploy lane, I'm going to build, again, let's put these under here. The first thing I want to do is generate my debug and test artifacts. So for Android, when you are running tests, you need to create these two artifacts in order to run the UI tests on them. And then I'm going to call screen grab. All right, screen grab hasn't been set up yet. There's no files for it. It's just going to run whatever whatever the defaults are. This is going to run my instrumentation test runner in this case. All right, and then it will go clean up the APKs. It will generate the release APKs and put those up on the Play Store. All right, just save that and give that a go. Oh, it's so Fastlane. Those are files. I'm going to turn on, let's see, autocomplete. Just need a minute for this. I'm pimping this feature out. I wrote it 2 days ago, and I'm really excited about it. So I need to put this into my bash file. This is going to turn on autocompletes for Fastlane so they can see all my lane names. All right, close that. Let's source this so that I've got that in here. Source that. Fastlane. There's my lane names. Much better. All right, Fastlane deploy. Type D. Oh, deploy. Off we go. All right. So this demo should take a little bit longer. Let me make sure. Oh, got my emulator running. Fantastic. Put this up here. So again, it's gonna build a couple times. So it's gonna build the debug ones for the testing. It's gonna run through here, take my screenshots, and then it's gonna upload this whole business to Google Play again. Drink break. Gradle is slow. Does anybody know that? Show of hands again. Who's Android developers? All right. All right, here comes the fun stuff. Watch this emulator. Just gotta install the APKs. Nobody said live demos were fast. There we go. Great. I took my screenshots. It showed me the screenshots that it took. And it's gonna rebuild again to get that release version, which is really important. We'll pop over to Google Play shortly. And so the things we're expecting to see in Google Play this time are just those 2 screenshots in English. It's pretty legit. Make no apologies for the tools that you have to use as developers. Anybody got any funny jokes? That was not a funny one. You sure can.
So can we actually configure screen grab in a normal app? Because what if I don't use it?
We use the testing in order to navigate around through the app, and also to ensure that the views have loaded on the screen. It has a compile time dependency and a runtime dependency on Espresso, so it has to be used with Espresso.
So I cannot have screen grab commands the way I write Google Analytics commands do, and I would navigate around my screen manually, and then screen grab would just grab those.
Right, yeah, we have a dependency on Espresso, but there are other screenshotting libraries that you could use to do that, and then you can just go ahead and use Supply to upload them. So that's, like I was saying, the cool thing about Fastlane is that it can integrate with a lot of different tools. So you're not beholden to, oh my God, look at how long it took to run Gradle. Sorry. All right, great. Let's refresh this one more time. There's my screenshots. So those were generated just now. All right. I would like to do one more quick test. All right. This time I'm going to add a second locale. So I'm going to do not only, this is my file here, screen grab. Great. Not only the English version, which is the default language for my app, but I'm going to go through the French ones as well. Same thing. Build it, change all the languages, upload them to Google Play. So we should see a language pop up in here, and we should see additional screenshots added down here. I'm going to save that file, run this again, and take a couple questions because we saw that this takes Gradle several minutes to run. Anybody have questions while this is going? Yes?
I'm wondering about the best practices with in your lanes you can call Gradle tests, and then I'm guessing in Gradle you could also call Fastlane do lanes so that you could back and forth.
Great question. The question is best practices around using either Gradle to call Fastlane or Fastlane to call Gradle. The reason that we think that you should call Fastlane from the command line and shell out to Gradle is that Gradle may not always be the way that Android apps are built. New tools are being tested out and introduced by Google, and so if they switch build systems, you keep your whole configuration file with Fastlane and you just change it from Gradle to Bazel or whatever else that you use to build, and the rest of your configuration stays the same. So, all right. So I got screenshots. Oh, we're building again. So I got my French screenshots. I saw 4 of them there, but I won't spoil the surprise for you because you can't wait to see them in Google Play. Any other questions while this graphs to Gradle again? Yeah? Yeah?
Can you define lane dependencies? Kind of it looks like a rake build file essentially, where you say this thing has to complete first. I don't think I saw an example of that.
Yeah, in the fast file, each step must complete in this case. So they're completed in order. Yes.
Okay. So you just rearrange the order if you want to.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
And I like your feature where you can print all of them out.
yeah, that tab complete was crucial. We're still, I don't know what this package marker for release is, but it's a doozy. Other questions while this is, oh, here it goes. All right, so it's uploading the screenshots in English, and shortly we should also see the screenshots uploaded in French, but I don't see that. Oh, there we go. Here they are. Whew. Oh, this is the worst live demo ever. No, thank God. And all right, this is the last time we're going to do a demo. All right, here's our other language. We're over here in French. Now I hadn't created any metadata for the French locale, but that would be obviously pretty easy to do. All right, and here you can't see, and I can't zoom hard enough. But there is French translations in there from my strings file, so I had just translated this one string for the snack bar. All right, fantastic. All right, let's see. I think that's all for the live demo. So let's switch back over to here. My friends. Great. Whew. God, that's over. All right. So Fastlane has saved over 1 million developer hours since we started keeping track. It's a lot of hours. That's a million hours that you could spend writing new features for your users, cleaning up tech debt that we know we all have, or spending evenings and weekends with your family and friends instead of hacking on your crummy build system. Fastlane is completely open source and free. There's a team, right now we're 7 engineers working on it, and an incredibly active community. We've got about 40 open pull requests in the last 3 weeks or so. In addition to a repo where all of our code lives, we also have our examples repo. And this is where people who are using Fastlane, our community, have uploaded examples of their fast files so that you can see how they're using it. So, Mozilla for the Firefox app is using it for these features. Product Hunt, Wikimedia for the Wikipedia app. They're all using Fastlane to make their build go faster. And you can see exactly, everybody's got their own sort of different setups, what they're using it for. But there's, like I said, an entire repo at GitHub Fastlane examples where you can see how other people are already using it to sort of inspire you to use Fastlane the way that you want. So Fabric, which is the team at Twitter who works on Fastlane, it's a little confusing, it's a lot of words. Like I said, there's a team of 7 engineers back behind this, a huge community. People are constantly submitting pull requests, both for little bug fixes, and we've got a community of folks adding new features. Some of our best work has been done by external contributors. So it's a really thriving community. To get started, really all you have to do is go to Fastlane Tools, check out the site, or even easier, just gem install Fastlane from your machine right now and get started. It's super easy, and best of all is that we're all here, we're all listening. We have a Slack channel where we like to talk to people about Fastlane. We're very active on Twitter, obviously. But we want to hear from everybody who tries it out, whether you love it or hate it. So yeah, ping me and let me know. Thank you, guys. And I'm happy to take more questions if you have them. Cool, thanks. Oh, yeah, I love your questions.
You mentioned Pilot. Are these tools all under Fastlane's control?
Yes.
Is Pilot what interacts with the ITMS transporter?
Yeah. Yep. We have a bunch of tools like Pilot, Deliver. They all have these sort of silly names, and as many of them as possible are in our own code. But there's a lot of things, especially Apple, that they have really locked down. So we do use ITMS transporter for actually uploading certain files. We use
If you're not using this.
Yep. We wrap things like Xcode build to do the building. We try to use as many approved tools as possible, and there are some other tools that are derived from basically looking at the APIs that either Xcode or Dev Portal or iTunesConnect uses. And every time there's a new version of Xcode released or changes to the developer portal, we scramble to make them to hook everything back up. It's sort of reality that we live in, and we know we're controlled by them because Apple is not open as much as they could be. Google, on the other hand, they provide a Ruby API that we use internally to talk to Google Play. So they're a little nicer, a little more developer friendly.
Yeah, but they didn't make it easy, but it's better. It's definitely better.
Yeah.